Oh my god, why do I do such weird things and think they're funny? Ugh! Okay, so this is my bullet journal for 2019. I really like it. It's hardcover because I always carry it with me, so I don't want it to get messed up. And it has a bookmark, two bookmarks, and a strap to keep it closed. It's olive green. Really like it, and I'll link it down below. But yeah, to start my bullet journal, if you watched my other video of my 2018 bullet journal, you'll know that I cut up a different calendar from one of my favorite artists and used that to collage the front and the back of the journal. Well, this year I used my 2018 Broad City calendar and cut it up and put it in the beginning and the end of my journal. Especially since especially since the series is ending this year, I thought it was an extra nice element, and I just fucking love that show. So yeah, so that's how I started it, and then the next page is just a little collage because the pages were weirdly connected, so I didn't want to use them and draw on them. And then the next page in the front of my book, I always put this belongs to or found return to with my name and email and phone number just in case it gets lost because I lose everything. And then I don't know why I did that with the cat, but it was a collage from some magazines. And then the beginning theme of my journal, I used these gemstones, which I used my Tombow brush pens to do a watercolor effect, and then cut out and lined them and cut them out. And so those are sort of stickers I made for this page, and the next few pages in this element is sort of repeated on throughout the beginning. And the next page is my year in advance, my year in review, whatever you want to call it, calendar of all the months, keeping on with that jeweled watercolored theme. And I haven't really filled that out yet, but the next page is my goals page. So I used a similar watercolor technique, but instead of cutting out the jewels, I cut out the just a sheet of watercolor and cut them out sort of. It kind of reminds me of like a bridge sort of. I don't know. But I cut them out and each line is a different goal. I haven't completely filled it out, but that's what I had so far. And then the next pages I really don't like. I haven't really done much yet, but it's more of a detailed year in review. I started doing something, didn't really like it, so I kind of gave up on it. But I will probably go back and fix it. The next page, I wanted to continue with the watercolors. So I did a quote, and picking out a quote sometimes gives me really bad anxiety because I want it to be like a good quote. So I just went with something simple: be a slut, do whatever you want, just to sort of not necessarily, it's not necessarily about being a slut, but if you want to be a slut, be a slut. But it's also just a quote about like, do whatever you want. Like, be you, don't listen to what anyone else says. So yeah, so that's the beginning of my bullet journal and my setting up for the 2019 year. Moving on to January, I always in the beginning of my months do a like full spread that's just like a design around the month. Sometimes it's themed, sometimes it's not, but it normally matches the next page, which you'll see, which is like a calendar page. So for January, I went with this black and white theme with like different sections with this washi tape. I used my Tombow black brush pen. Um, and wrote the word January in like a cursive and then put down the washi tape. And in each section, I filled it in with a different pattern, a different style. This is something I used to do all the time when I was like super young and would doodle. So it's something I really like. And then the next page is a calendar with different to do lists and different notes. You'll see a lot of stuff blurred out in these next few pages because that I write a lot of work stuff down, and it's just easier for me to blur it out than to go back and cross it out. So this next page is a really simple weekly spread. It is just some gold washi tape and just some simple fonts. I always split Saturday and Sundays blocks into two because the stuff on Saturday and Sunday I typically don't have to write down. But yeah, so that's the first one. So for the second week, I matched closely to the January theme with the black and white and the squiggly lines. And this one is something that's really quick to do, but pretty fun, I think. This one is really a cop out, but it really shows when washi tape comes in handy because you can just throw it in there and you don't even have to draw the lines. As you can tell, it's crooked, but it did the job. So yeah, that's that one. And then the next one is actually one of my favorites. I took the same sort of watercolor that I used in the beginning for the quote page and the goals page and cut it out and just put my days of the week labels on there, and it was super easy and it looked really really awesome. And then the next page is just a really simple cursive with the date, but I do really really like that as well. um so yeah. So next is February. It actually took me a really long time, really long time to get to this point. I left this page blank for a super long time, like over half the month, because February is always my worst month of the year. It's just really hard for me to like get through the month. So I gave myself a bit of a break and didn't put too much pressure on me to get it done. But I'm really happy with what I came up with. It's kind of like a cityscape bookshelf block sort of theme. But yeah, so that was my February page. And then the next page really matches the first one and includes that same box pattern with lots of drop shadows. I like to have a work to do list and a regular to do list, important dates space. And then, like I said, February is not a good month for me. So I have a quote that I put in the corner when I finally got it done saying, "You'll get through this dark, cold month. You can do this." Because, like, I was really struggling for a minute. This might be, or this probably is, my most favorite spread in when it comes to weekly spreads so far in my bullet journal. And as you can tell, I messed up because I put 2 days behind the correct date. So I had to go through and fix all of that. The next page, this was a super cop out page. You see, I didn't even put in the dates. But I'm really just focusing on having fun with it. So it was fun to do. I went over it a couple times. I spelled Saturday wrong, so it's kind of like super blurred together. And sometimes I do spell the words wrong. I'm not perfect when it comes to spelling. So that's when fonts like this, where you go over it a bunch of times, really does come in handy. And the next one I did like a lot. I found this pink marker at work and I wanted to utilize it. So I put a whole bunch of dots everywhere. Another simple, super fun way to make your weekly spread without putting too much pressure on yourself. And then the next page is the last page of this video. This is the last week of February. I did like a drop shadow, purple, pink, blue theme. I don't know. I really liked it, but it kind of came to me last minute. But yeah. So that is my bullet journal for 2019 setting up. We'll be back in another video to talk about my March spread. But I hope you enjoyed it.